Hi guys, welcome to the channel. This is Yvonne from Ginger Chick Rehab. Thank you for hopping on and checking out what I am up to. So in today's video, I am sharing with you some of my junk pile, my trash to treasure, my auction finds, my secondhand finds, makeovers. So these are actually a lot of wood items. I know some people look at wood when it's dried and it's bleached out and it's stained up and it's dirty and they think, oh, just go put that in the burn pile. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Let's salvage these pieces, make them into something new and make them into beautiful home decor. So come along with me as I share the process of how I do this to these items. So my first item is this huge scoop. It's just for decor. It's got a little piece of a metal on the back of it to stabilize it so that it doesn't rock back and forth. But I'm not really a fan of the white color that it's painted. It is aged with time. It's got marks on it that did not wash off. So I'm going to go ahead and get this little stabilizer removed first, and then I'm going to attempt to remove this white paint off of it. I started off by sanding it and then quickly realized that I was really getting nowhere slowly, that the type of paint this is, it must have had, it was almost like a rubber to it because I kept going through sandpaper. It was taking me forever to get to the paint, to get to the wood underneath. So then I tried to at least remove the top layer of it and then quickly decided that I was just going to use some stripper on it to try to remove the rest of the paint. Instead of having that build up of my sandpaper and wasting sandpaper, I'm like, okay, let's just get the Citra stripper out. We don't do a lot of stripping here but on my channel, but sometimes I am determined to get the rest of this paint off. So all I'm going to do is just pour some on, wipe it on, a good healthy amount. I probably poured out too many, but so I'm trying to save it. Just spread it around what paint is left, wrap it in some saran wrap, and then leave it for quite a few hours until I see it starts to bubble. Go in with a scraping tool and just scrape that excess. You kind of know that your paint is ready to be taken off when you see it kind of starting to wrinkle, kind of bubbled up. And it was just an odd paint because even as I'm doing this, it's just smearing. So there definitely, it was an odd paint here. I'm or maybe it was just me, but I was determined to get down to that wood. That I do know. We're getting all the paint scraped off and then giving it a bath and letting it dry. Now I'm going back in with just some steel wool just to smooth any of the area out. See, there was beautiful wood underneath all that weird white paint. I just want to accentuate the wood just a little bit more, and I know some of the grooves I did not get all the paint 100% off, but it's that perfectly imperfect. It'll give character marks like it's a freshly carved whittled piece. So now I'm just going back in with some Waverly antiquing wax and darkening up this wood. So I'm actually not going to remove the paint off of these little milk signs. What I'm going to do is I've actually already power washed them. There is still some dirt and grime on them, and then they're really chippy, not smooth to the touch. So all I'm going to do is take an Orbital sander on the top of them. I love that gray paint coming through. I just want to clean them up a little bit more so that it's nice and smooth and nothing's chipping off. I mean, this is kind of the look that we're all kind of trying to distress anyway. And if it takes a little bit of that black hand-painted lettering on, I'm good with that too. I just want to make them a little bit cleaner than what they were and then make them nice and smooth. And as you see, they didn't have any type of a hanging system on them either. And I got all 5 of them for $1 at an auction. So, I might as well save them. And then how adorable is this little pig cutting board? I would just use him as decor, but the same thing after I washed him up, because at this auction, stuff was really dirty and he could not help but have to really get it clean. So I'm trying really hard, just very lightly, to go over this little piggy, just with some 220 sandpaper, very gingerly. I just want to make it so that it's nice and soft. I really absolutely love that patina. So if you just go very softly, don't press hard down on your orbital sander. You could do this by hand sanding it too, but I thought, you know what, I think I can control my sander enough. I really love the patina of this little guy. And then actually in the same auction lot, we got this. I'm going to call this one a hog. I don't think he's so much a pig, but he does need a little bit of help too. After getting him cleaned, he needed to be smoothed down. The same thing. I like that patina of the wood. I really just see these as decorative decor pieces. But I just really want to make sure that it's nice and smooth. But now this one, I can see somebody, they may not only just use it for decor. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a little bit of the cutting board oil just to give it a refresh. That's going to bring this really dry wood back to life. Now, I could have done that on the littler pig too, but I didn't really feel that there was need. It was really more of that one. That guy to me was really more of just a decor piece. My next piggy cutting board is actually a Martha Stewart Essential, and it was actually used as a cutting board, so then it has all those knife marks. So if you ever wonder when you're out doing secondhand shopping, how do I get rid of knife marks in cutting boards, or not just only the pigs, but regular cutting boards. So I'm going to start off with some 80 grit sandpaper. So the lower your number, the more product it's going to take off, more wood is going to remove. So we're going to go ahead and work all those knife cut marks off using the Orbital sander with that 80 grit. And then after inspection and I've worked all my cut marks off, I'm going to work up. So I'm going to work from a 150 grit that's going to start smoothing it to a 220 grit, which is going to make it super smooth. So yep, when you do the lower numbers, it leaves it really coarse and rough to the touch. So you want to work your way up to smoothing that wood back out. And after giving this a clean and letting that dry, I'm going to go ahead. I just wiped it off with like a damp cloth. Now I'm going to go in with some more of the cutting board oil and give it a nice drink. And then I put a generous amount on and both sides, and then just let it soak in all overnight. You may seem like you have a lot on there, but that next morning it's all soaked in and it's not greasy at all to the touch. And I know when I grabbed these out of the box at the auction, I'm sure people are like, oh my gosh, what is she thinking? Not only were they super dirty, this is cleaned up, y'all. I couldn't even touch the stuff. It was so dirty, but they're solid. There's not any cracks in them. Yep, they have some staining going on, but they're that classic look of a cutting board. So I knew the same prep as what I did with the pig. I'm going to go ahead and work all the cut marks, because yes, these were used, and actually the one I'm working on right now has been used so much it actually has a sunken in center point that it just, to me, is really cool. And I love the little frayed edges of it telling the story of how much that it's been used. So yep, same thing, 80 grit sandpaper, work all those cut marks off, all the dirt spots out of the wood out, and then work it up to that 150, then to the 220. But instead of doing some just plain cutting board oil, I want to give them a little bit more of just a decor. They did their time, so now I think it's their time to be a decor piece. And this wood is a super dry, but I am still surprised that I got most of those cut marks out. So I'm going in with Waverly antiquing wax. Not that you couldn't use these, just to display some food on. I wouldn't probably use them as a cut board. with the wax on it. Maybe it could, I don't know, but I just envisioned them being a little bit darker given this drink. So as you see, this Waverly antiquing wax is just really soaking in, and I still think that feature of it's been used so much that it has been rounded in the center is just absolutely cool. And then they kind of had like a holy spot, not like it was just cut marks, but like a meat tenderizer, you know, the one that has kind of the knobbies on it, was also used on there. So there's just a lot of character on these boards. And I decided to take it one step further and kind of accentuate that groove in the middle of this board. So I'm just taking some of the Jolie black wax and I'm just going to go around the out edges and it's shaded it. Now the wax is going to be water repellent. So I mean, you could do a little something to use it, but I would really just sell these as decor pieces just so for some beautiful wood accent. To finish these two off, I'm going to go ahead and add some leather shoestring. And of course, I thrifted it, so I'm happy. I'm like, oh, hey, where did I put that? So anyway, so yes, I'm just going to cut off a generous amount. And the thing about that leather type of shoestring is it's always really stiff. So after I'm going to get it cut off, I'm actually going to go ahead and immerse it in my Waverly antiquing wax watered down mixture. One, that's going to soften up that leather so it makes it so that I can tie it. And then two, where that bright color is on this side of the shoestring, it's going to darken it up and give it more age appropriate to go with these cutting boards. In case you thought those cutting boards were bad, wait till you see these wooden bowls. Yep, I know I'm a glutton for punishment, but it is that transformation that gets me when I know that I can save an item from being thrown away. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with these two wooden bowls. I've already power washed them, which when they were really dirty yet again. And then when I power washed them, that not only were they already raw, but then that raises the grain of the wood also from being soaked. So now, anyway, I need to go ahead and get these nice and smooth. If you could have field of vision, you would have felt how rough of a texture these were. But for these, I'm actually only going in with a 220 grit because I don't want to ruin the shape of the bowl. If I went to take 80, I might take too much product off and my round shape may not be round. So just to smooth this out is all I'm trying to do here with 220 grit sandpaper. I have them all sanded smooth. I got them all cleaned up, just a damp cloth, not to raise that green again. And now I'm going in with that same Waverly antiquing wax to richen these up. And you can see that there's a burn mark on this one, but yet again, it's character. These are decor pieces. And this is just going to take this really dry bowl and just bring it back to life. Really love the shading the black wax added to those cutting boards, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing around the rim of the bowls and fade it down. And it especially where this poor bowl got too close to, let's say, to a candle and got burnt, so that should blend that burn mark in just a little bit more. I could have sanded it, but then I would sand a hole into the bowl into it, so let's just leave it as character. Okay, so now when it came to cleaning this one off, I was power washing it. I had no idea that it was MDF board. So this actually is not real wood. It's that pressed MDF board. And then when I was power washing it, of course, the layers of dirt were coming off along with what was painted. So I'm like, well, you know, just keep going and seeing how much more of the paint I can get off of it. But of course, all of it would not come off. So I'm going to go in with that 220 sandpaper on the Orbital sander and get this nice and smooth. I know that I could fix it. I wasn't too awful worried. Sometimes that beginning process is kind of scary, but it's the end results that you can envision that keeps you going. And then for the areas that I just couldn't get with the power sander, I just didn't want to take too much product off. Even with the 220 sandpaper, of course the MDF board is going to act differently than what real wood is, so I'm just going to go with some 220 sandpaper around that outer edge just to make sure that I've got everything as smooth as I can. Before I can move on to painting this piece, I need to even out the porosity. You got a little bit of paint left there. You've got that raw MDF board just showing its happy little face. And I need to get that sealed in so it paints pretty. So I'm going in with a few coats. The first couple coats is really just going to soak right into that MDF board. So I'll have to go in with 3 coats to make sure that I have a protective layer on there. And then after my shellac is dry, now I can go in and paint it. And I'm going to go ahead and paint this black because black hides stuff. So as you see, just how quickly, with even out their porosity with that shellac, how it's just painting beautifully. And that black paint is just hiding all those flaws underneath. Just with that black paint, this is 110% better than what it was. So now I'm going in with some polycrylic to seal that black paint in. Then my polycrylic is dry. I want to make this look a little bit more like a wooden bowl. You can kind of see some of the defects underneath. It's going to be that perfectly imperfect. But I'm going to take my Orbital sander just ever so slightly around the outer edge, bring back some of that brown that's underneath, give it that more of that wood look going on. And along the rim on the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and do that same thing. That'll just give it a little bit more of I'm wood when I'm really not. Now after sanding it, I'm going to go ahead and take a fine grit steel wool over the rest of the piece. One, to make sure that it's nice and smooth, and also to open up that polycrylic because I'm going to use some antiquing wax that is really going to elevate this and richen up that black, get into some of those defect areas, and really make it look more wood-like. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and what did you think? Did I save these items? Yes, some of them were definitely a little worse for wear, but they were still structurally there. So they were dirty, so they needed sanded. Who cares? You know, a little bit of elbow grease, and they were beautiful pieces. So give me a quick comment down below which of the items were your favorite and if I inspired you in any way to look at secondhand finds in a new way. So thank you again for watching today's video, and as always, if you're part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. And if you're new and you're checking out this content for the first time and you liked what you saw, please hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know when we've uploaded a new video, and we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye!